The Ensemble podcast is intended for professional financial advisors. All discussion is limited to publicly available information and should not be interpreted as legal, professional, or financial advice. Ensemble does not hold an AFS license nor provide any financial services. Before making investment decisions, you should obtain financial advice from a qualified financial advisor.
Hello, my name's James Wrigley. I'm a financial advisor and one of the principals of Melbourne-based financial planning firm First Financial. I've been a long-term listener and contributor to the Ensemble group and podcast, picking up some amazing nuggets of gold over the years. And through this podcast and the people that I'm able to speak to and interview, hopefully I can continue to deliver some of those nuggets of gold to you.
IntelliFlow is on a mission to give more people access to financial advice. Their technology, IntelliFlow Office, powers and streamlines the advisory experience for over 30,000 financial advisors worldwide, making an impact at every stage of the advice process, including practice management, revenue management, cash flow modelling, client portals, and more. IntelliFlow Office helps advisors manage all their client and provider data within a single integrated ecosystem that just works. Discover IntelliFlow for yourself by visiting intelliflow.com.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm James Wrigley and I've got the pleasure of speaking with Steve Sloane today. Steve from Link Wealth Group, or owner of Link Wealth Group. Steve, you were kind enough the other week, put a post out on LinkedIn saying, "How is anyone very free for a chat?" Kind of then in that morning you reached out saying you're happy to have a chat at some point. And so here we are. So Steve, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, James. It's great to be here. I know I've seen your face pop up a couple of times. It'll be a great opportunity to meet and have a chat.
Yeah, and recorded and value for everyone. So Link Wealth Group, as I said before I pressed record on this, by and large, a lot of the people that I get the opportunity to speak to as part of this podcast, they're kind of solo operators in a sense. Might be one advisor, two advisors, paraplanner, maybe a client service manager or some operational type support. But a lot of the Ensemble community is relatively small financial planning businesses. You, from just judging by your website, and I'm keen to hear your story, you seem to have grown past that, just one advisor. But can you tell, what does Link look like at the moment now? And then maybe we'll go back to how you kind of got to where you are at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So Link today, we're based out of Melbourne. So head office is in Melbourne. We've got an office in Adelaide. I'm in Adelaide today. And then sort of small little satellite office in Brisbane City that we use from Melbourne to go up and down and service clients.
Yeah, nice.
We've got 5 ARs as we speak. We've always sort of floated around the 5 to 6 ARs. We're a bit short at the minute, just staffing in general, I think, is in the industry.
Yeah.
And trying to find another AR, but a little bit time, but it's a bit of time at the minute. And then we've got a team of about 6 what we call associates or FPAs. So whether they're starting at their program or just about to start where it may be, so about 6 of those. So there's about 11 or 12 in the advice team, I call it, which gives us an engine room. Yep. And then we've got the operations in Melbourne, so the ops managers, about 5 or 6 ops in Melbourne. But then the business is sort of multifaceted, because what we did about 5 years ago is create an offshore business that it's called Lavera. And I've got about 30-odd staff over there in the Philippines that really support the engine room of Link Wealth Group.
Okay.
And then we've got a finance business as well called Link Wealth Finance, which is the mortgage broking side of the business. So all up, it's probably 52 staff across the whole group that really support the business. And and it started 2012 and it was just me in a room.
Yeah. So look, as I said, there's not that many that build financial planning businesses up to 50 staff, wherever they might be sitting and whatever they might be doing. So that the business that's in the Philippines, is that just kind of resourcing for your own business? Do you have virtual resources or whatever you want to call it for other businesses as well?
It originally was started to support Link Wealth Group originally. But then about 3 years ago, we decided to outsource it to other financial planning practices. So we also look after about another 14 businesses around Australia.
Yep.
And supply some administration staff for them as well. So they do sort of the end-to-end administration, if you like, the applications and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah.
So it started to go to other businesses as well, which has been...
Yeah, nice. So those 30 people that are offshore are supporting you and the others, that's all in the one business, I guess.
Yeah, correct. So I've got about 11 of them that support my group at Link, and then the rest of them are sort of outsourced to others around the country. And we sort of set like a bit of a center of excellence. They all sit in the same room together and talk about advice and how to do it, implement it better and things like that. And yeah, it's been really, really good for that.
Yeah, fantastic. And so in the Australian team, it's really just the advisors and that associate advisor, whatever particular title you might call it, people going through the professional year. So you don't have like a client services team as such. Yeah,
we do. So I've always, even with the outsourcing arrangement, I've always made sure that if something happened and it got cut off, and say there was an earthquake or we know what happens over there, that we can still operate.
Perfect.
So I've got 2 client service officers in Melbourne. We're about to bring on a third, and a full-time receptionist, and a operations manager, and we're just recruiting HR and P&C now. So that's we just make sure we all can always build it out so we can operate if we need to.
Yeah. Right. And so how did take us through the story of starting from just you to ending up at 50 odd now? Like where did you were you in financial advice before you started on your own? What was the story there?
I was part owner of another company called Oak Financial Partners with another fellow based out of Melbourne. And then in 2012, we amicably just decided to go our separate ways. And so I pulled out some clients out of that business. I was looking after about 30 families that came over with me to start. And just started with myself in a small desk in one of those share offices in Melbourne back in 2012. And then, there was a lot of ups and downs and sideways movements and a lot of mistakes across the journey. And as we all know with business, but I think we just always had the philosophy to try and find the right people to come on board. And so I had that from the get-go, and we know how important that is. And just always try to go forward, whatever was happening, whether it was the Royal Commissions or whatever issues we were facing at the time, just keep on going forward and pressing forward. And that's the way it sort of grew from there.
And your role at the moment, so you're still seeing clients, you're not just kind of heading up the business, so you're still financial advisor as well?
I am. I love it. I don't want to give that away. I really enjoy seeing clients, but our model at Link is we've got a pod system. So I'll be an advisor. I've got 2 sort of associates that sit with me, and same with Josh and Billy and the like. And then what we do is over the time we feed the up and comers the clients. So this year I went from 120 clients down. I'm going to go to about 50 clients, and all of those clients have gone on to other advisors, or one of our associates came through to AR and he's taken about 50 of my clients. So we've got that model where I'll then build it up again. And then as the new lot come through of PY into AR, we'll then feed on to those guys. And we find the clients have no problem with that. Like they've dealt with the guys for 2 years or 3 years, even if they're just associates or junior advisors, whatever you want to call them. They don't seem to worry about that because they know I'm always here. And are happy to be sort of serviced by another advisor. And
I'm interested in how you manage that process. Like we have a fairly similar process here, and it's interesting to hear how others are managing that. So you build it up, you transition some clients onto someone else that's coming through. Yeah, how do you manage that with the client? Like, what's the conversation around that with the client? How's it work?
Yeah, so look, before we've managed to move them on, they've been working with that person for a long time anyway. So I've got Braden Duckworth, one of my new ARs, and he went through the PY program at Link and Advisor Academy at Link. And then, because I've been working with him for 2 years and all the clients know him day to day anyway and been talking to him, it was such an easy conversation to the point where we didn't really have to say much, to be honest. It was like, Braden's here. And I just said, look, the business is changing. The model's changing, so we're just going to be reallocating. But I'm always here, and to be honest with you, there's just no negative feedback whatsoever. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because they didn't worry too much that I wasn't looking after them.
And that's broadly been our experience here too, where particularly where the client's going to an associate advisor that they've been working with for a while. Like there's Ben now, our managing director, when he was handing over his last clients, they went to one of the advisors, Steph, and the conversation went something along the lines of, like Steph does all the work anyway, and the clients will turn around and say, we know that, Ben, it's fine, like just move on because, you just show up, but Steph actually does all the work. If you want something done, we call Steph. So, it does work quite smoothly. We've found it a little bit more challenging and rightly so, if the client doesn't know that advisor. So if I was handing over clients to a different advisor in the business, but that may well have been here for years, their clients had no touch point with them up until now. That's still goes okay, but can be a little tougher.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, but yeah, all in all, been working pretty well. That obviously frees up my time, and Josh has done the same. Billy's doing the same, and so really frees up if you want to call them senior advisors, to get out there and talk to more people and see more people and work on the business a bit more. And that multifaceted.
They're going from just yourself to hiring your first person, albeit 10 or 11 odd years ago. Is there any kind of learnings from that? You see a lot of stuff online about people saying kind of hire before you really need it, and then other people are somewhat drowning in work, and then all of a sudden they try to hire someone. You have any learnings in that you can share?
Yeah, look, it's just so challenging to make that call. It's and you got to sort of predict the future to sort of work out when to go. And I have made the mistake of going too early. Definitely, yeah. I've made that, and cash flow was cooked and all, and so I just had to get it right more than I got it wrong. I did. So sometimes I got it wrong, sometimes I got it right. I just got it right more often I got it wrong. When to go? Because you got to go if you're going to grow. You've got to employ staff. So it's just when to make the right call. Have I got better at it over time? Probably. So I've probably just got better at knowing when to pull the string based on what I think's coming. But it really is a bit of a gamble, to be honest.
And it is probably maybe 1 to 2 might be hardest, but then 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 49 to 50, there's still, you're taking on another salary. It might be a whole lot easier to absorb when you've got 49 other people operating a business. You've obviously got a reasonable scale there. Yeah. That if you do get the timing wrong, might be easier to absorb for a little while. Hurt a little bit more when you go from 1 to 2, but it's still the same decision to make the whole way through, isn't it?
It is. And probably the most challenging one was the offshore business, because I wasn't there physically on the ground a lot. And so we hired 3 and then went back to 1 and then went 2, 3, 4 back to, so it was just such an up and down process. Yeah. So we end up going to.
You feel like you got the balance right for the moment?
Yes. Yeah. Look, we're probably fortunate now. We're in a position where you've got that economies of scale and you've got the structure and, the right managers on the ground in the right spots. So it has made it easier once you get past that mark of 20 to 30, because you've got that structure. So if you drop a couple, which you never want to do, but it can happen, you can absorb easier and things like that. So that's probably where it's gone a little bit easier.
It sounds like there's just a couple of positions for your Australian team that you're looking to fill, different roles there.
Yeah.
You mentioned something when we were talking before about your professional year and so forth, something you called your Advisor Academy. What's that all about?
Yeah, so we've launched it as Link Wealth Advisor Academy, effectively to bring in new recruits that want to be advisors. And it's a program it's fully built online. We run it. It's got its own training portals, and it's designed to run alongside the licensee PY program. They can start it. It's the Link side, the Link Advisor Academy. They can start it whenever they want. 2 years out from doing PY, doesn't really matter. And it's an online system that they go in and do sort of regular training programs that we design at Link, and also where we capture all our client meetings so they can get recordings of, directors doing meetings and things like that to get up to speed with how to do it. And then we do online training sessions with them through those portals. So it's sort of like a systemized and process we take them through alongside the PY program. And it's run by Fei Kong, one of my senior guys, and he controls the associates and make sure they're all up to speed. And it's been good. And we started about 5 years ago now.
5 years, yeah, right.
Yeah, it was. We saw the Royal Commission come, and we knew we were going to have an issue with trying to get advisors. So we decided to really step it up then to get something going, and I'm sort of glad we did, because it's really now we're struggling to find probably the ARs we need, and so this is really the wave that's going to come through over the next couple of years is probably going to come through that.
So that's then more of you're kind of training them in-house, you're building them in-house rather than trying to hire someone that's already an AR from somewhere else. You're hiring someone in at a more junior level. They're working through whatever their career path is, but start on your Advisor Academy and train them internally instead.
Correct. Yeah. So they're trained on sort of our way, our processes and procedures, and we're finding that's a good. It's been very good.
So is that like video tools of you presenting, whether it's you or someone else? That's like someone's recorded. You mentioned client meetings, so is it like you in a room explaining something, doing some type of training, or is it actually recordings of client meetings where you've explained some particular topic and people can watch and learn and absorb it that way?
Yeah, both. So, due to COVID, obviously everything moved online, and so that really captured a lot of our online meetings. We record pretty much every single meeting that the advisors do, and so that we'll select different meetings based on the type of advice the advisor's giving, and save that under if it's SMSF advice, it's ended up being with a fact find, stuff like that. So we'll save that in the SMSF section.
Yep.
And then we'll also do online training. So sometimes I sit here in Adelaide and I train the guys back in Melbourne, and I'll talk about a particular topic. And then we save that on the system so they can go at any time, or any advisor for that matter, whether they go through the PY or not, can go in there and just have a look at different topics and things like that, and go from there.
Yeah, right. And so what technology? I'm just always interested to see how people are dealing with the recording of the client meetings. What technology are you using for that? And then also the kind of the follow up is, do you then make those recordings available to the clients to review afterwards, or what's that process like for you?
So we use Teams and everything saved on Microsoft SharePoint, and all the systems set up through Microsoft. We share pretty much, we've got a bit of a sales system, if you want to call it, that was designed a couple of years ago that comes off the back of our social media stuff. And we share every single meeting with the client. So we do a 15-minute chat to start, then a 1 hour discovery session with them. We send that all to them. So it's saved on our internal stuff as well as sent to the client. And it's pretty much all Teams. Every now and then we use Zoom. I haven't used this one before that we're on today.
But this is more just for podcast.
Oh, is it? Right. Okay.
Rather than you and we use it with clients, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, but no, it's fairly simple. To be honest, it's not overcomplicated. We definitely just try to keep it very simple, straightforward, and everyone can just log in, and it's to the portal that's internal, and pick and choose what they want to go through. Yeah.
And I'd imagine your licensee is fairly supportive of the Advisor Academy. Surely they think that's a good idea, that you're doing some structured training like that. It is. They're all for it. We're trying to actually commoditize it for others as well to use at some stage in the future. So we may look at doing that. But they're very supportive of the program. It's been good. We actually just recruited one this week, a police officer, 44 years of age, coming to join us, and right. So that'll be quite good. So lots of life experience, career change. Yeah, good. We've had some good success with some what you might consider older people coming in. They've bounced around a few different careers and things in their 20s and 30s, and then found their feet in financial advice, and it's worked well for us too. Great. Yeah, nice. So who is a typical Link Wealth client? Like who are you, or are you pretty broad? Are you really narrow with who you're working with, or is it fairly broad? Pretty broad, Jace, to be honest, mate. Like we don't tend to pigeonhole too much. We go through a process when people engage to just make sure they're on the right track for advice and the right time, that they're ready for it. I suppose in the generic terms, that middle market, mass market, semi-professional to professional mums and dads, to be honest, in the accumulator space. We deal with other ends of the spectrum as well, but definitely we can provide advice to the Australian market. Really, we don't tend to have that target client, and even in our marketing, we don't tend to do it that way either, to be honest. So So let's talk about your marketing. So for anyone, advisors or anyone that might be listening, that is it on TikTok? If you're not on TikTok, you might not have seen, but a couple of your guys there, Josh and Billy, are fairly active there on TikTok, and both amassed some really decent followings there. I guess that's one channel that I know of in terms of your marketing exercises. What else? We'll talk in a bit more detail about TikTok in a second, but what else are you doing from a marketing perspective to build the business? Yeah, so I suppose our marketing strategy, it's all in. So it comes from the top down. If I'm doing it and Josh is doing it, we're all on the same journey. So we've got a philosophy at Link that really is that it's all of us are going to join the party and get involved and share the ideas between us. So that's our starting point. And then we just use, like yourself, it's just content. We just try to get the name out there, tell people what we do. I think it's still a challenge to get people to understand what advisors do. And we see this as a good way for people to understand what advisors do for a job. And I think that's just half the battle, really, because once they realize what you do, well, they go, okay, I've got the need, and they put the two together, right? So that's all we're trying to do with it. And also have a bit of fun with it. The guys are really enjoying it, and they've done it for a couple of years, and something different, which is good. Yep.
So look, we're on WeChat. So Fei Kong, he does the WeChat side of things, and he's very much good on the Chinese community side of the fence. We're obviously on Instagram, LinkedIn's quite heavy, so I do probably more of the LinkedIn stuff, and then and obviously TikTok and Facebook as well. So we sort of use all of them. If you like, we don't, and then I think the key for us is probably connecting that to a decent website. So we've, it's all sort of connected up with the Calendly links and all that to automate where we can type of stuff. But
gotcha.
It's all sort of connected up, and I think there's probably circa 90 to 95,000 people across all the platforms connected in some way, shape, or form.
Following along in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
So it's not too bad.
I've never spent any time looking at WeChat. What does that? Is there like a feed kind of thing on WeChat like there is on Instagram and these other places, or?
It's very similar to the Facebook type of arrangements.
Okay.
And you do a lot, like Faye does a lot of live it's more live type of stuff on there. So he's on there doing a lot of that type of stuff. It's more live rather than the quick video type of stuff. So yeah, he gets good success out of that one.
Yeah. Nice. Good on you. And so, what are the, like, it is, if you think of where are most of the inquiries coming from? Is it coming from TikTok or Instagram, or like what's working for you at the moment?
Yeah, funnily enough, it's a real mixed bag. LinkedIn, it goes in waves. We find like sometimes we're LinkedIn, sometimes Josh and Billy do very well on. They get a lot of contact on TikTok. Yeah. But then, funnily enough, lately, the last 6 months has been Google. I don't know why or how. It's just people have been finding us on Google. We don't really advertise on Google or do. And I'm not sure if it's just through the internet world of how that all connects up. And I don't know how it's working, but people are just getting us off Google, and we're asking them, and they're saying, "Yeah, I got you off Google," and I don't really know where that's coming from. So, but we're just okay. That's cool. So we'll take it.
We get a bit. So same thing you asked clients. How did you come across us? And there's a fair bit of it that I think is like scam, like not scam, but trying to check that the online presences on Instagram and particularly TikTok, that it's not a scam.
Yeah, gotcha.
So we find people either Googling my name or First Financial or something like that. They may well have seen some of our content on one of these other places. True. But then they just go back to Google, find your website. Hey, it looks like a legitimate website. This, I've seen Steve's videos, and now I can see Steve's on this website. It all kind of marries up, and then make an inquiry through the website rather than through these other ones, because there's lots of fake accounts out there, lots of scam accounts.
Oh, God, I tell you, like it's a nightmare, and I wish there was a solution to it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Because I get them all the time on TikTok. People saying, "Oh, there's a fake one, and this one's messaging me about stuff." I'm like, just
unfortunately we had one got caught up in a client, and it's not good.
Yeah.
It's really, really disappointing. But yeah, got to just try and keep working at it to educate, I suppose.
Yeah, do what we can. Yep. So you seem really supportive of the team. Like you spoke about this kind of words, we're in all one in all in. You seem really supportive of the rest of the team, just trying these different things out. And if someone has a bit of success somewhere, then you will tend to gravitate towards it.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, I've got I do this job for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, to provide, I enjoy financial advice and financial services in general, and I enjoy, the client side. But I personally grew up, in a lower socioeconomic family, so I wanted to provide a different life for my family. But I truly, half the time, is really the passions to generating the career development for my team. To be honest, I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm driven by it. I want to give them every success they want to earn towards and work towards, and that's why it's so important to me that we're on the journey together. It's probably one of my top ones or twos, really.
Yeah. So what's next? What's the business plan for Link Wealth? What are you taking over the east coast of Australia by the sounds of those different offices you've got? What plans?
Yeah. Look, I feel like we're really enjoying it. And as a team, and I'm really enjoying it. I think you probably witnessed this yourself, James. Financial advice been through a pretty hard time. Yeah. And I think we can finally breathe and do our job of just look after clients and without the real big headwinds that we've had to deal with. So I'm sort of really enjoying it now. 5 years ago when the Royal Commission was happening, and I'm actually licensed by AMP, so that was interesting. it wasn't as enjoyable, but we're sort of on that journey now. So we're starting to enjoy it. Where to from here? We've got a really good business consultant working with Baz Gardner at the minute. We're doing a lot of work with him. We're go-to.
Baz, yeah.
Baz, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're sort of looking at what our options are. We really want to cement ourselves in the Melbourne, Adelaide in particular, because I live here half the week, and keep on going to Sydney and Brisbane where we can, and just go from there really, and just sort of see where we go. We've got some pretty big plans. We look after 520, 40 families today, and we're trying to get to 2,000 in 3 years' time. So that's what I've signed up to as the MD, and so we've got a bit of a journey to get there, and it's really connecting the dots. We've got a tech piece has to come into that, managed account piece has to come out of that, the staff piece has to come into that, and get everything else lined up. So we're working towards that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is it? So you're 500 odd at the moment with 5 ARs. What does 2,000 then mean? You need 20? Is that my maths right? Like, what do you think the headcount needs to look like?
Look, it's probably at least another half of what I've got now. Unfortunate, probably this team offshore, this is really our engine room for the growth, and it has been, and that's probably got us to where we are today. To be honest, the team I have in the Philippines has been amazing, and that will allow me to scale it up to get to that level. Really, we're trying to get the AR numbers for looking after families. So a family unit we classify as one client. We're trying to get them to look after about 150 to 180 family units. We've got to have the tech to support that.
Yeah, for sure.
We just can't do it without it. So that's sort of what I'm trying to get to from an AR number perspective. I probably need another 4 ARs to get to that sort of level, I think, with the right tech.
Yeah, well, that's it. You're going to need to, because there's often this. You'd spoken about this number of an advisor tends to cap out at about 100 clients. They're too busy seeing their clients. That kind of thing. If you're going to want to be sitting at 150 to 180, you're going to need the technology supporting that. There's going to be people needed to support that, but also technology as well. Yeah,
100%. So we're having some really good conversations at the minute with our licensees. It looks like the SOA side, the docs are coming down in size, which is nice.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But the tech piece we're constantly looking at. So AI is probably going to come into it at some stage. But so if you've got any secrets that you can tell me on tech.
Nah, look, we're so much like you, kind of, Callan, like we're just trying to speed up that whole process. The bit that we really need to work on is the data capture from the clients. That's the biggest roadblock for our process right now. Like, it's the 15-minute phone call template for booking in follow-up meetings, and we need this information, we need that information, but then we get all of this stuff from the client, and we use Xplan.
Yeah.
And that kind of front-end data capture tool on Xplan is pretty atrocious for clients to use. Yeah. And there's other plugins and so forth that we're looking at the moment. So that's a roadblock for us, is to try and push some of that data capture back into the client rather than to us. Like, they're gathering it up anyway instead of plugging it in.
Yeah.
And then we're doing the video SOA stuff. So I've done 4 or 5 of the video SOAs, which is
how's that gone?
It's a much more interactive experience for the client, for sure.
Yeah.
And it saves our back office paraplanning team hours and hours in writing the SOA. So the biggest saving is in our paraplanning team. Everything else, before and after, is broadly the same. The meeting's better with the client, but so that's the other area where we're trying to speed things up.
The client must really enjoy that compared to going through a massive document.
I've done a couple, and everyone's like, "Oh, how did the client take it?" I said, "Well, I'm talking to brand new clients that have never received advice before, so they don't know it any different." They were probably somewhat puzzled when I put this 60-page document in front of them, and they're saying, "Hang on, can't you just tell me what I need to do?" So the Adelaide office, that's an interesting. So a lot of financial planning businesses, particularly if they're in Melbourne and Sydney and so forth, they'll kind of have offices dotted up and down the east coast.
Yep.
There's not that many that go over to Adelaide or even over to WA. Was that client driven? Did you have some clients around there?
It was family driven, mate.
Family, right.
About 5 years ago, we unfortunately had a bit of a health in the family issue, and so we decided to relocate the family. We're going back and forth a lot between Melbourne and Adelaide, and then I just sort of said to my wife, I said, "Look, we had a young child at the time. Harvey was 1, I think.
Yeah.
So I said, look, how about we just park in Adelaide and I'll do the travel rather than the whole family get on the plane and go back and forth." So that's predominantly why we did it, and then we just sort of set up from there. So
yeah, right. So like home for you is Adelaide.
yeah,
not Melbourne.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
right, there
so
you go.
Adelaide. Yes, I live in Adelaide here, and then I go back and forth normally Tuesday to Thursday back in Melbourne.
Yep.
I try not to do every week now. I used to do every week for about 4 years, but now I sort of do every couple of weeks. I go back
and particularly now with the whole, all the video meetings like you're talking about before, recording everything, and I'm sure clients are well and truly used to it.
Yeah,
that it doesn't really matter so much if you're in Adelaide or if you're in Melbourne or if you're in Sydney or Brisbane. Doesn't matter too much.
Don't. And staff as well. So like I used to think, I got to be there because the staff are going to need me there. It's just not like that. You know, they just. I think they're totally even fine without me there. To be honest,
it just kind of reinforces that if you hire good people and trust them to do the job that you've employed them to do, sure, you'll soon work out if they're not doing it. But if you've hired the right people, they're going to get on with the job whether you're there or not. So.
Yeah, 100%. And like I've always hated that micromanagement philosophy anyway. It's never worked for me or never didn't come into my vocabulary. So it's completely fine. I've got a great team. So
it's fantastic. All right. Well, thanks, Steve. Thanks for joining me. As I said at the start, I really appreciate you kind of reaching out and offering to come on for a chat. Good to speak with you.
Nice one.
There's a bit of value in there for anyone that's listening, and thanks for joining me today.
Right. Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.